we're live. Are we live? Oh, now we're live. All right. Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Morning News Show. I am Amy Palvido. This is a show, and I'm frozen. Am I frozen? I am so frozen. I love it when I freeze. I only go live and I freeze. This is always great. I don't know if y'all can see me, but I seem frozen. So I'm going to pretend.
You were frozen.
Dave, I'm going to interview you now, David.
Okay.
Yeah, it's left up
Let's
to you
talk
and
about
me.
data centers and power.
Data centers and power. More of it. It's not stopping.
Not enough power, not enough data centers. All right, next topic.
That's it. I know. You know what? I'm gonna get a tattoo that's could this be a data center? Because that's all I see every day. It's like Groundhog Day.
I guess the question becomes, when you look at office to resi conversion, what's a great way to repurpose out of date office? Why not repurpose all of this office to data centers? I mean, I can't imagine the lift would be that much more incremental than doing a resi conversion, but what do I know?
You know, you've got structural improvements. You've got to support a data center, you need efficiencies, you need air circulation. It's not unreasonable because edge compute is going to need to get bigger in cities to support the large language models. So I'm leaning more towards, I used to push away from that, but I could see smaller data centers, like you take a floor of a building in a building that's obsolete. But if you're mixing residential with high power use, a lot of energy and efficiency is being used inside a building. You've got also fire issues, you name it.
Amy, you can just sit in the background. We're talking
to our event.
Howard, just one thing to point out, it seems like the development cost is almost similar to what it would be for some of the aspects of resi conversion, as far as windows, filtration, access, columns, beams, foundation, etc. And so, again, with the right investment and the right partners, I feel like there could be something there. But, again, what do I know?
I've seen it. I've seen designs, but I haven't seen it deployed enough to just besides a couple closets or a small space in a building.
What are y'all talking about? Sorry.
There's something that'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
I was like
frozen. We're talking about data centers and power.
Data centers and power. Well, good. I'm so glad that you did my segue for me. This is so awesome because that's what I was going to talk about too.
All right, well, go ahead.
So did y'all introduce yourself, since I went live and I went like this? So y'all did. Okay,
no,
go ahead.
Right, we're talking like old buddies.
All right. Well, Dave, why don't you go introduce yourself to our audience?
My name's Dave Auerbach. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Hoya Capital. I'm a REIT industry consultant, and we manage 2 REIT and real estate ETFs. The trade on the New York Stock Exchange with a combined $140 million. And I'm the publisher of the daily REIT Beat newsletter, among other things.
Awesome sauceness. All right, Howie.
Cool. Mine sounds dumb compared to that, Dave. I'm Howard Berry. I run the National Data Center platform at Avis & Young. We do all things related to data center real estate. It's not just nationally, it's globally. And I am a nerd influencer.
Hey, there you go. Hey, I was gonna take that tagline. You stole it.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. And I'm Amy Palvido. I am the chair of the U.S. PropTech Council. Say Palvido 10 times fast. And this is our Commercial Real Estate Morning News Show. And I got my buddies in the house. Very cool. So I did want to talk about, I brought Howie back because he's our data center expert when we're talking about all things data center, which is very super cool. So there was an article out yesterday about how the well, this whole thing, there's several stories about how data centers or folks or data centers are basically combining with utilities or trying to stick their butts right next to utilities, and also partnering with like Meta and anybody, a major data center user, but they're doing all three, right? So they're finding a utility they can hunker down next to. They have the data center developer, and then you have the big tech person, obviously, because you kind of need all three. But then the regulators, basically, who were trying to do that in Pennsylvania, I guess the Department of Energy just kind of squashed that deal. Did you hear AWS's plan in Pennsylvania kind of just blew up because they're not going to get to use their nuclear reactor or something? I guess AWS was jealous that Microsoft rented 3 Mile Island, so they're trying to do the same thing in Pennsylvania. So anyway, have you heard about that, Howie?
Yeah, AWS is first on their deployment to tying into nuclear industry by, buying, leasing, owning near nuclear, and then Microsoft's deal. Everything is in the works. It's not done, and even with Microsoft's deal. So from what I've heard, that whole process is it's not as simple as I'm the guy who's going to turn you back on and let's get going. There's a lot of regulations that need to get put into place to make the operations of these data centers with nuclear power work. This is just showing a trend of where things are going, because the data center is going to be the energy provider as it self-energizes through small modular nuclear. We've talked about it before, and it's going to feed back into the grid. It's not going to be dependent on the grid. It's going to be self-reliant and feeding back into and supporting, small towns and cities by the way that it generates power. So we have to look at this completely different. As we look at his data centers hogging the industry of electricity, it's not really the case. We do need to build. We do need to deploy more data centers, but how we generate that energy is going to dramatically change. In the next 5 years, we're going to see some big changes.
See, we have ESP today, because that was the other story I was going to talk about. In Texas, they're doing that. They're doing, like, they call it reloading or whatever. The data center is actually going to do kickback power to the grid, right? Instead of being like a energy hog, they're actually it's going to be an energy supplier at some point. Because if it has extra capacity, it's going to kick it back to the grid, which I find
right. The old way of doing it was the utility companies like, look, it's a hot day. We're over allocated on power. We need some. We're going to ask you. We're going to load shed. We turn you off for a while when you run on your generators while we, use that electricity to keep everybody else going. That's changing. We're getting away from that. Data centers don't want to turn off, and nobody wants a data center running on generators.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's not the most consistent source of power. That would not be
not
good.
Efficient, not.
Yeah. So we have
power generation in the U.S. that actually is running on diesel generators in some areas.
Oh, where?
It's scattered. We have so much power.
Oh, you mean at like way out in the sticks? We mean like way out in the sticks? Yeah.
Streams to solar to wind to you name it. But this election is going to be pretty pivotal in what happens with our energy. Definitely there's a party that's looking at, hey, we have to focus on nuclear. You hear about it all the time. So that's promising for us as an industry to see that, because we know that we see nuclear as safe. We see it as efficient, and we need it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but there's a nuclear plant in Texas, down in Matagorda Bay near Texas. There's a nuclear plant there. So it's kind of interesting, but we have one here in Texas too. I think there's probably small nuclear sites all over the place, that most people don't think about, for sure. But yeah.
Large nuclear places we never think about. In Florida, there's one right on the coast.
Really? I didn't know
right on the ocean. Yeah, you're just like, did you know?
Yeah, did you know? Well, I'm assuming they put them next to oceans because of cooling or something. I'm sure there's a reason.
Right, you need water.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. The other big story out was talking about this whole AI. Obviously, there's the story. It's called the hurricanes coming. It's about the AI boom that people cannot build data centers fast enough. Like it's the next, obviously. Well, it's been a little bit of a darling for a little while, but now it's about to explode. Are you seeing that transactional wise, Howie, on your side?
I was just telling David before you joined our party that
Hey.
I'm gonna get a tattoo that says, "Could this be a data center?" Because that's all we talk about. It's all day long. Everybody's looking for a site where can we build. You know, we're looking we're looking in the Dakotas, Wyoming's now, which are typically not a data center market. We're looking anywhere we can find the energy, and it's someone asked me who's looking to expand. Everybody's looking to expand.
Yeah.
Everybody wants more power. Everybody wants to expand, and we're not seeing that stop right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Good time to be in data centers for sure. You know. Yeah. You busy. And then the last place I heard, and hopefully I will get this guy. There's a CEO. I think you mentioned this on one of our previous shows, but he's actually looking at putting data centers in space. Like that's his company, and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But all right, okay. I mean, we got to stick them somewhere, and as long as I guess the satellite link is good, I don't know. I mean,
we're trying everything underwater in the space. We have Starlink, right?
Yeah. That's probably an Elon Musk slide. He probably invested in that guy just to do something.
We have to think like Elon Musk. We have to think of the future. We have to constantly sit here and think we're going to have in the next 3 years robots in our house. Or sooner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like that, like all the movies, the kid movies where they had robots in the house. Yes. No. I think for sure.
Robot's going to be probably raising your baby while you're off at work.
I don't know about that. No, that would be.
I'm just saying, think of the future. This is where we could be going.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Data centers are evolving. Data centers are evolving where we're going to have robots. They're already doing it. Robots inside data centers switching servers, doing that manual labor.
Yeah, eventually it'll get to Star Wars probably sooner than we think, right? For sure.
We're not far off. We're not far off at all.
They've been announcing more and more robots, and I'm starting to see them. There was one. It was cool as crap. I mean, as far as construction goes, anywhere where there's like a huge labor need, I would think that's the perfect application for a robot, right? And we're just like, let's fill where there's huge gaps. And there was one in construction. There've been several robots coming out now because they can do scanning better. They can do inspections better. They can do, but there was one, no joke. It was doing stucco. It was following along with somebody else, applying the stucco along the wall, along the lathe. And it was fast as hell. And it was applying it super even. And I was going, crazy. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. So at some point, right, you're going to have 3D printed homes, which is done by computer. Somebody's in a remote, like on a computer in an office, 3D printing a home at a job site somewhere near you. And then you're going to have robots come in and do the plumbing and the electrical and start building homes, right? Or building buildings at some point. Yeah, it's a crazy town. It's a crazy town. All right. How are you, David? You've been a little quiet. Well, you weren't quiet. You were just like taking over the show. It's good to know that you can do the show for me, David, when I'm like, stuck like this.
Actually, Howard was the one that took the reins with it, not me, just for the record.
Oh, yeah?
I took over interviewing. I like doing that.
That's awesome. Very cool. So how are things in REIT world, David?
Chugging along. Blackstone's John Gray calling the bottom once again, seeing opportunities in commercial real estate. He was at a conference.
Like the fifth bottom, sixth bottom.
Exactly. That's what the article talks about. It's how he's been calling the bottom for a while now. But he talks about where things stand, the opportunities that they see out there. Obviously, rentals is an example. So that's one story. They're potentially looking to acquire Retail Opportunity Investment Corp, ROIC, which is a shopping center REIT based in California. This started in July, and then on Sunday night, I think it was Sunday night, the story started picking up again that apparently, a deal could be announced here within a couple of weeks. In 2 weeks is the big REIT conference in Vegas, the semi-annual REIT conference. I'll be at it. And I'm sure, assuming a deal isn't hammered out by then, this will be an interesting topic. But ROIC owns 93 properties, 1 office property, 10 million square feet. But they're local sharpshooters. They deal with a lot of mom and pop investors in shopping centers. So a family owns a shopping center in a high traffic area. They do a lot of those off-market transactions acquiring those properties. And then lastly, in tomorrow's hard copy of the Wall Street Journal, published online today, talks about the recovery in the apartment sector. People talk about this glut of supply, and now a lot of that supply is starting to dwindle, which could pose some good tailwinds for the residential REIT guys going into 25, that they could potentially push rents. And then, Amy, obviously closer for you and I at home, they say that the worst apartment market in the country right now is Austin, Texas.
Yes, I know. For sure.
Just talking about the issues that Austin is seeing, but obviously they look at other areas that were so-called troubled and are starting to see a recovery, because a lot of it plays into return to office mandates by some of the employers. So a very interesting story to follow. But with us here on the tail end, getting close to the tail end of REIT earnings season, now it's all about setting the page for 25. We've got the election today. We've got the Fed meeting on Thursday, Fed meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow. Sorry, I think the announcement comes out tomorrow. Or Thursday. It might be pushed a day because of the election. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me here, but obviously a lot of interesting stuff it's in the hopper here with what's going on.
Yeah. What are we expecting from the Feds? What do you think will happen?
25 basis points.
Really?
You think?
Wow.
I think so.
Huh.
I mean, and inflation did hit 2%, right? It hit the marker where it thought it was, but then we've got mixed jobs reports, right?
Well, you have to throw out the jobs report because of the hurricane and the Boeing labor strike. So
okay.
That's it. It's a cloudy number.
Yeah.
When you look at the stuff that was going on, it's very hard to get a good read because, again, it's a cloudy number. And I think with the PCE data that came out recently and some of the other signs, I wouldn't be shocked if they do a 25 or punt to December and do 25 in December because of that report that came out, again, that jobs report that they want to see a little bit more visibility in the November jobs, let's say, to make a decision for December.
Yeah, no, that makes, it's an interesting time. So, but forecast wise, I mean, will it be a surprise or not? Like, is everybody expecting a quarter point? Like,
no, I think general consensus is either do nothing or 25. And I don't think there's again, I don't have the dot plots and all that stuff up. I'm sure, the problem is that everything is taking a back seat to the election stuff right now. So you try to pull up a story and it's 27 pages buried about what's going on with the Fed because of the 26 pages covering the elections, Cruz and Allred here in Texas. So
I know.
I don't think the market will be surprised if they do nothing. I don't think the market would be surprised if they do a 25. I think the market would be surprised if there was a 50.
Yeah, right. That would be interesting for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Have you seen a trend that a lot more people buying crypto and gold?
I see people advertising it, but especially gold right now. But I haven't seen anything about crypto. Crypto's been pretty quiet.
Shifting money to gold. Gold's gone up.
Yeah.
I mean crypto's gone up too.
I keep waiting for that actor. Yeah. That old actor to come out talking about, I always invest in gold. Those commercials. I don't know what his name is. Bob Devane. I don't know. Anyway, I keep waiting for those commercials to reappear. And that's when gold is about to go down. When Bob Devane comes out, talks about buying gold. Because gold is not.
My brothers-in-law used to own a bunch of gold buying stores across the country. Robin Leach, if you remember who Robin Leach
Oh,
was, he used to do their ads for them. And that business went away because of the move in gold. And now with it going back up, I've kind of joked with them, are you guys getting back into the gold business here because of, that price? So, there's opportunity that's out there as this thing continues to move.
Yeah, for sure. But crypto's been really quiet. I haven't heard obviously it's in the tank if it's not doing well or as well. I don't know.
It's at $68,000. It's been holding pretty steady, to be honest. I mean,
you're talking about Bitcoin, but all the other cryptos are like not doing well. Like, right? Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin's like the bellwether.
And I mean, you look at the ETF flows, at least the Bitcoin ETFs have been just drawing a ton of money, of money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm not a crypto investor, so don't listen to me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I might have invested in a crypto stock here or there, and it sucked. Maybe it was probably because I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. Who knows? No idea.
I'll give you a crypto trend. Since the halving in February, now we're seeing all the crypto miners that have secured land with inexpensive power all over the U.S. now going, okay, wait a sec. Now we're gonna push away from the crypto. We're gonna get away from mining. We want to sell our land as powered land plays, and it's the right time to do it because everybody's looking for power wherever they can get it. And if you're buying a piece of land right now with 300 megawatts of power, it's gonna take at least 3 years before you can break ground or get the power out of that land, because for the transformers, the time it takes to get the transformers, and that data center, that 300 megawatt data center is that's gonna cost you $3 billion to build.
That's crazy. 300 megawatt. Yeah. Is that the line? Yeah. So if people were,
it's 10 million a megawatt. 10 million a megawatt is the rule of thumb, and it's 100 megawatts, and it is $1 billion. So when you hear they're deploying $1 billion for a data center, you're like, it's 100 megawatts. We're doing 500 megawatt. We're doing gigawatt sites.
Interesting. So if anybody's a land banker, they should be looking for land that's got that access to that power, basically.
Land and power, you've got it, and uninterrupted power.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Reliable.
Reliable power.
It can come from anything. It can come from coal. It can come from. They
don't care, right? They just want power, right? They don't care.
Power is generated. Yeah.
Yeah. So is the sustainability movement really like anything in data center world, or is it really a thing or not? Or is it just like talking about, doing on-site power through solar and wind and all these other different things?
It's extremely important to operators to make sure that their power does come from some sort of renewable source. They're going to look for any way they can to become greener.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because some people, no joke. Okay, let's be real. Real estate people are real estate people, and they're all sometimes then if it impacts their bottom dollar to an extent that everybody wants to do good. Don't get me wrong, but if they had a choice between making money and spending money on things, they probably would just prefer to make money. Let's be real. So sometimes people do it as a lipstick on a pig.
I'll give you an example. I had a site that could have maybe 800 megawatts of power, and it was a tree farm. And everybody goes, no, I'm not buying a tree. I'm not going to cut down trees to build a data center.
That's good then. That's good. Then
that's the market. They are not going to be looked at as a group who went in and just killed a forest to build a data center, and they don't want that publicity. They don't want to do it.
Okay. Well, good. Then that's good. And that's the right way to do it, right? Just find another site, or I don't know,
there's
on top of the trees. I don't know. Go underneath. I don't know.
Set it on fire. Come back later.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing about the mining, though, it used to be. I remember people. It was 6 years ago or whatever. There used to be like this crypto mining thing in a box. You would go get a container, fill it with servers, stick it next to an electrical pole, and it would be mining, right? And that's
I've never seen that.
Yeah, and it was interesting. There was like investors investing in this, like, mining in a box, or what do they call them? Whatever, crypto kits or whatever they called them. But it was like a, shipping container, and they stuck servers in it, and then they,
right.
Yeah, and they would just mine it, right? And they just had to be hooked
Sounds
up
like
to
a real COVID type of business invention. I have to say,
Yeah.
it sounds very COVID-esque.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're in containers. They literally, the guys they're mining, they go in, they take their leaf blower, blow the dirt out of their container, and go. We call them chicken coops. When they look like chicken coops is the way they mine, and they put them in these buildings that have air vents under the bottom, so the cold air comes in and blows out the top.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's
we're going to
crazy.
see one of those miners in a box in the Smithsonian maybe in 20 more years.
So those are going away, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah, the power's more better used for selling it to like a data center. So whoever owns the land is figuring that out, right? And so that's kind of plan.
Cashing in on the value while it's there.
Right, exactly, for sure.
And then we're not seeing a ton of groups moving into Canada or Mexico and maybe utilizing power there, because you've got sovereignty data that's got to come over state lines, and that becomes an issue as well. So sticking in the U.S.
Okay, explain that. Do that.
Sovereignty
again?
is the rule of laws around how that data is moved, and each country has the different rules and laws.
Oh, we're talking countries, not states.
Yeah, countries. Yeah, we're going into Canada, different countries.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I got you. So for the ones up north that are on the border or whatever it might be, where they're pulling it. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Do you think that there's going to be laws around that, where they're like, especially like in friendly, neighboring countries like Canada and the US, that there'll be some sort of laws around how the data is shared between, I eventually think
there is.
Kind of, is there now? Like NAFTA? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. Like, so is it, because I still think when I talk to companies, it's the big number one question is on my software program is, where's the data stored? That's the first question almost that comes out. Yeah. It's like, where's your data stored? It has to be in the US. And I was like, well, what if it was in Toronto? Do you not like Toronto? I mean, but I it's not stored there, but I'm just curious as to, why. Like if
laws around data traveling from whatever laws are in that country where that data is stored and how that data is used. So every country has different laws around that. There's also concerns that if your data, and I've heard this, is if your data is in another country and maybe that country says, look, we're locking you down. We're taking over your control of your data.
Okay. So, well, I mean, that's fair if it's like in a third world country. I get that.
Yeah, Colombia. Canada? Data center. You're like,
but Canada, those Canadians wouldn't do anything. They're so not. Maria's not here. I can't give. I have to have a Canadian. But yeah, what are the Canadians going to do? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. They might. Who knows? It's an interesting time. It is interesting around, especially as more and more data centers are built, and this leads into all of real estate. But there's been a topic in Canada. They're requiring real estate owners over a certain size to have cybersecurity insurance, which is kind of interesting. I'm assuming on data centers they have to have that too, right? But it's every building. Every building is going to have to start having cybersecurity insurance, which I'm just. It's interesting. I mean, but that leads into everything that, real estate and technology, because IoT devices are hack points, right? And you have all these other different things that you have to worry about from a cybersecurity standpoint. So I think that becomes more of a prevalent issue for sure, especially as the AI gets better at hacking into things. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you think of quantum fusion, right? Quantum fusion is going to be the ultimate compute. And then how do we have security with quantum fusion?
You don't. They've already quantum hacked stuff.
Yeah, quantum hack. You're like, done.
They don't even have a quantum computer yet, but they're already learning how to quantum hack. I put out this article on LinkedIn, I think it was like a week ago. These Chinese, of course it's Chinese. I hate to say that. I'm so sorry. But yeah, but these Chinese scientists figure out how to quantum hack something. They use quantum, and so basically, you know what that meant was that blockchain and crypto are no longer safe.
When do we light this ball on fire and then go to a different planet? At what point are we like
doing Elon on Mars? Is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to,
whatever.
I don't think Elon's even gonna go to Mars. He's like,
sounds like fun. I want to go.
You want to go to Mars?
Yeah, really? I'll take it. I'll go. Why not?
It's really red. Like, don't you want another color? Like, blue, green.
Adventure. Give me a mountain bike. Let's go.
For sure. Oh man, are we having fun today? Like, and we haven't really talked politics, even though it's kind of happening today. There were some articles.
What happens if something happens?
Yeah. So David last week was like, Amy, it doesn't matter who's in that seat. Who cares? Like, it's not really going to matter. Well, and it's true, but there's lots of articles talking about how if it's Trump versus Harris, what's going to happen in real estate world. And I'm just like, was like, I happen to agree with David that one person, while they're the president, can, it takes a little while for laws to get passed in this, especially if there's a Republican controlled Congress and then a Democratic president. Nothing's happening at all. I don't know if you all know this, but do you know the Fisher Investments guy? Do you know that guy, Ken Fisher? He wrote this book. It's really super cool. And it was talking about like mega trends that affect the stock market. And one of them is that if there's an opposite party in the White House versus the Congress, nothing gets done and the stock market goes up. Like it's over time. It's historically proven that if that happens, then our stock market does much better. I don't know if you knew that. Just like little trivia.
That works.
I'm throwing out there today. Little trivia tidbit.
I'm leaning on you, Dave.
Yeah. All right. So, Dave, any other new fun articles from the Daily Great Beat that you got out there?
I can always pull up articles, but those were the most relevant ones that I had seen in passing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think and Equinix and Digital Realty, and there's a lot of people. Data centers is always talking about the fun things that they're working on.
Equinix's CEO was interviewed on CNBC last week. I did do a post on my LinkedIn kind of summarizing her 4-minute appearance. And, Equinix is a global behemoth, obviously. And they talk about partnerships, especially with NVIDIA and some of these other guys that, we're, as Howard's been, we keep talking about, we're still in the very early innings of this whole data center game. And this need for power. And, when you talk about some of these mega projects, mega sized deals that you're referring to, there's really only a handful of players that could operate in that space. And obviously the data center REITs are two of those players that can handle, that type of capacity, because they've got the partnerships with the big capital providers across the globe, the Blackstones, the government of Singapore's, those guys that are looking to invest big sums of money. Those are the people that they're developing with. So, I think the data center REITs are a great way to play, obviously, this evolution in NVIDIA and Amazon and Google and Microsoft and all these other companies.
Yeah, for sure. I know Prologis just I don't know how recent it's been, but they have their whole data center.
Skybox,
I think is what it's called, or something like that.
And that's the platform. Google's earning. Do you see Google's earning call? Like all their platforms are just kicking butt. I think the cloud was the biggest earner.
Yeah, but then now aren't they facing getting broken up by the DOJ? Like they're too big, and so the Google CEO was talking about how they were going to think about breaking up because they're almost a monopoly or something. I don't know if that happens, but yeah, I think it's
big businesses get broken up and they become bigger businesses.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're not going to get hurt. I don't understand all this. Like all you're going to do is create 3 really large companies that'll turn into behemoths again, and they're going to break them up again. I don't know, but yeah, I saw the Google CEO was talking through about how, what their plan was if this were to come to pass.
And do you know why Equinix is so big and why it's so strong? It's connectivity. It's got the best connectivity of any data center operator. So that's why their tenants are so sticky. Is you pay more to be there because they've got the best connectivity.
Well, yeah, because they talk more about digital infrastructure than they do about their data centers.
Yes.
When I look at their website, it's really interesting. But yeah,
that's why they're big. That's why they're big, because you're going to pay to be there because of that.
Yeah. So it's
that's their xScale platform, right, Howard?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's what she spent a lot of the time talking about, was the xScale platform.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah, interesting. All right, y'all. I think we're done for today. How's that?
I'll leave you with one last thing on digital side.
Yep.
They're not spending, they're selling. I think some assets probably coming to market. Maybe they're going to sell some things. I've heard some rumors of, but they're not spending money on anything new infrastructure wise, any big spends or buys. I haven't really seen them out there too heavily.
Interesting. Why? But what that, I just now you're going to make me talk some more. But everybody's buying right now, aren't they?
Everybody's buying right now.
So what do they know that nobody else knows?
I don't know. I personally just haven't seen or had many conversations about them floating around in the market for expansion. You hear QTS taking down 2 gigawatts at a time. They're a privately held company, previously public. Blackstone brought them out. I think there's also going to be some pretty big companies you're going to see probably trade soon. Privately held companies that are going to be up on the market. I can tell you that a couple are in the middle of transactions right now. I can't talk about those, but there's a tightening of the market, and then there's other guys that are breaking out, and just the ones that have innovated and started these companies that are starting over and doing it again.
Interesting. So you think there could be obviously mergers or acquisitions of companies?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why
there will be. I think 25 will have a fair amount of mergers and acquisitions. I think that'll happen.
One way to
Amy, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. According to Howard. According to Howard, you heard it here first. Digital and Equinix are merging in 2025.
Well, it's one way to expand your property portfolio. Just buy another company. You don't have to go buy real estate.
Well, that's the only way the big guys grow, is they got to buy other companies. So, by the way, Digital and Equinix are not going to merge. There's no way the government would allow that one to pass, in my opinion.
Ever. Yeah.
And I don't, again, you got 2 heavyweights there. It's the same reason why, at least in the world of REITs, why you won't see guys team up, because you have alpha personalities, who's going to run the ship. You have to have, 2 willing parties to dance. And I can't see Andy Power and Adair, sitting there in the room and be like, all right, who's going to run this thing? And who's walking away? Like, I feel like they both want to be in the chair. So I'm obviously joking about that merger, but I do agree with Howard. If this is going to be the play in 25, you're going to see a lot more M&A transaction activity occurring in the space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But don't you think that, I'm just going to keep going because I think this is cool. Don't you think that there's got to be, like, in the rest of real estate, the data center real estate's fairly new, but it's ripe for disruption in how they operate. Don't you think? Is it just we create a bunch of servers in there? And
Howard could speak to this better than I can, I think. But when you look at M&A and expenses and all that fun stuff, the 2 sectors, in my opinion, that are hard to wheel and deal are lab space and data centers. And the reason being is because of the cost of build out and to maintain and run those particular sectors are much higher than running a shopping center, as an example, or owning a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. And so again, you have to have a specialized partner in place that's willing to handle the incremental 10, 20, 30% on the expense side, because of, energy consumption, white space lab, cleaning, clean air, whatever that stuff. Again, the stuff that Howard could probably talk to more.
Clean room stuff. Yeah.
Clean room, that type of stuff. That it's really kind of harder to deal with that stuff when you look at the incremental expense side of the equation.
CapEx is huge, right? And that's complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot to unfold.
Yeah, you and I were talking.
And by the way, to answer your question, thinking about power and all this stuff that costs, if we go nuclear or whatever this other stuff, you're looking 5, 10 plus years down the road until it becomes normal course of action every single day. And so it's not like suddenly, let's say Kamala wins, and then on January 23rd, we flip a switch that says we're going from this power source to this power source, and now our expense numbers go down 30%. We're looking years down the road for this to have a real meaningful impact.
No, that's true. So in the meantime, it's just normal course of business. We just slap them up there as fast as we can, and we just run the same ways. Or are they looking at how do we? Are there any new? I'm just trying to any new unique thoughts around how we do data centers currently? Is it just big buildings or a bunch of servers in there and cool the thing and just do it that way, or are they not other than data centers in space or in the ocean? But it's still the same thing, right?
I'll let Howard finish, but I think key one is before you build the data center, it's where's the power supply? How are you tapping into the power to develop this data center? I think I don't remember where it was, if it was in Arizona or someplace, but it was like, we want to build this data center, but we've got to lay all this pipe to be able to connect to the power. So I don't think you're going to see one without the other. I think that's the biggest hurdle. And then implementing incremental changes, whether it's water or almond milk or whatever it is it's going to be to run these facilities. Obviously, it's going to be a piecemeal effort to get that into the pipeline. But Howard can probably talk about it better.
I'm from almond milk, but it is. We bring the data center to the power, not the power to the data center. But the data center is going to be needed tied to the power. It's like an extension cord, right? Plug it in, and it's like, where's the power coming? Is it coming in this side? Is it going in this side? Which direction is it going? So there's going to be a change in that. And then water, we're done with water. We don't need water for data centers anymore.
No, well, that's cool.
Nope. Liquid cooled to chip. It's they're higher more density in the data center, more power in the rack, and liquid cooled to chip is the design, and that's where everybody's going. It's an IT engineer's dream. They've always wanted more than 10 kilowatts in a rack, and now they got it.
Wow, that's very cool. So is the cooling requirements going to be less then, like from an HVAC perspective or any of that, or no? You're still going to have to do some heat exhaustion.
You're going to have circulated air. Yeah, you're going to circulate air, but you're going to have the way that energy is manipulated is going to be through a fluid that's circulated through the chip. So you're just going to be pulling the heat right off of the server and then cooling it down. So you have less of that fan cooling scenario. It's not as efficient as when we use water in a lot of for evaporative cooling, but it's less impact on our environment by using not using water.
Yeah, usually electronics and water don't mix, but this is kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, they figured it out. That's cool. That's awesome. Wow. Who did that, by the way? Who do we give credit to? Who figured that one out? Do you know?
Somebody. By the way, I have a list of, I should share this with you one day, but I'll show you. I have a list of every nuclear facility in the United States, and you'd be surprised how many we have in the United States. It's insane.
That would definitely be interesting for sure. So, and a data center is just going to park their hind end right next to one, right? I mean, basically, at some point.
Cheap power. It's cheap power.
It's cheap power for sure. Well, awesome. Well, cool. Well, let's do our outros, and we'll call it a day. And I already voted, but everybody else, you should go vote for whoever floats your boat. It's fine with me, and I'm a poet and didn't know it. But okay, David, you go first.
Bye, REITs.
Bye, REITs. Yes, sir. All right, Howie, any parting thoughts?
Let's keep it going, guys. This is fun.
These are always fun. I love these shows.
These are fun.
So much
It's
fun.
fun. That's the reason why we do it. And if you're not listening to this, you should be listening to this.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you find, we drop some bombs on this show. It's awesome. Very cool.
Amy, great job as usual. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys.
Bye, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And that has been the CRE Morning News Show for November 5th. I am Amy Polito. This is a show of the U.S. PropTech Council. And we have some lovely sponsors. And I just want to thank Ben Lerner from Lerner Associates. He's the founding sponsor of the U.S. PropTech Council, and he makes all the magic happen for us, which is super awesome. Look forward to seeing you next week. We're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you.